it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here for a new PB&J card class. And today I have another card featuring our transparent set, So Loved, and I will be making a card with that adorable little dog image that's on there. And before I start, I'm just popping up a look at all of the supplies I'll be using in creating this card, including the Copic colors that I will be using to color the dog. And I will put both of these back up at the very end of the video up on screen. So if at that time, if you want to look at them in more detail, you can just hit pause and check them out. To begin, I'm just going to speed through some of this coloring. I am coloring him in with Copic markers, putting down my darker color on the areas that are indicated by the stamp to be darker, just keeping things very simple, and then blending out with my lighter colors. I did stamp him with Memento Tuxedo Black ink onto Neenah Solar White cardstock, and I did that in my stamp positioning tool, so I was able to get a few impressions and get a nice, rich, dark black outline for him before I colored him in. Once I did the blending on his fur, I gave him a rosy cheek. And then all that was really left to do was to color his collar. And I decided not to use sort of the background elements for this particular card that are part of the stamp. So the butterfly and the flowers I did not use. I decided to give him something else to be gazing up at using some die cut elements. So these stamps are really versatile. This dog doesn't have anything heart related on him. So once Valentine's Day or has passed, you can use him for any type of card and switch up whatever he's looking at. It's really fun to have that versatility. So once he was colored, I did fussy cut him out and I'm ready to create my scene. I pulled from my stash of Penny Black dies some of my very favorites to create this scene. I'm using the heartstring, the trees from beneath the birches, the leaves from Tweet Things to add to those birches to give them a spring look, and also antique frame. So I thought I was rolling with the camera, but I'm so sorry I wasn't. But all I did was ink up the leaves and the hill using bamboo leaves and olive grove inks, and I've showed that in several videos also. And what I'm doing now is I'm just adding some ink to these birch trees just to give them a very finished look when they are added to the card. And I'll just get both of those. And for that, I am using some Vintage Photo Distress ink. Next, I am layering that hand-trimmed hill right onto my background, and all of these elements are cut from Neenah Solar White cardstock. And now I'm going to ink the sky, and I wanted this just to be a really warm, sunny, happy card. So I'm going to ink this using Cantaloupe Memento ink, starting from the bottom and working my way up so that the color is a little more intense right along the edge of where that hill will be and lightens up as it moves up towards the top of the card. I just start off of the edge and work my way on in a circular motion, and I'm using a jumbo ink blending tool. This is like a handheld foam application tool. And I like to add multiple layers of color in order to build up the color and not use too heavy of a hand when applying that. Now that I have that done, it's ready to add some interest using this antique frame. I'm only going to have that showing in the sky area, so I was just marking there where the hill starts. And I want this to sort of mimic the colors in the sky. So it's going to be a darker yellow with that cantaloupe ink color along the sides and as it goes down towards the bottom, and then lighten up as it gets to the top. This gives a tone-on-tone look to this frame, so it adds interest, but it doesn't distract from the overall design. There's going to be a lot going on with that heartstring hanging from the trees, so I wanted something to give the edges a finished look, but not like in a bright white that would really draw the eye out towards the border instead of to the focal point of the card. So I'm just going to adhere that down. And then I'm ready to color this die. This is the heartstring die. And I'm going to use the same colors that I used on the dog's collar. So we keep a nice colorway going with things all tying in together. With this die, it's also really easy to apply the color using a marker so that you can get each heart, and then I'll go in and add a separate color on the string. I'm working from light to dark excuse me, from dark to light, starting with a darker color up at the top of the hearts and working my way down. And here you can see just where I'm adding color to the string portion. And once that is done, I did end up die cutting another heartstring and coloring it exactly the same. And I am putting a little vintage photo ink along the edges just in case there are any areas that didn't quite get hit with the marker. Now I've laid out all of the elements in my MISTI stamp positioning tool, and I'm holding them down using the magnets. Nothing is adhered down yet, just so I can get my sentiment placed exactly where I want it. So I'm just leaning over and blocking your view, I'm so sorry, just to get that positioned and make sure it's in the right spot. I can remove a couple of those that aren't being held down with the magnet, and then I will be ready to do my stamping. I'm going to stamp this using Ranger Archival ink in the color of potting soil. I've said this in other videos, but I love using this color for sentiments. You can stamp it a couple of times using your MISTI and really deepen up the color, but it's not quite black, so it's just not quite as stark, especially on like a yellow background like that. I think with black it might have been sort of too bumblebee looking, black and yellow, so I really like the subtlety of that dark brown compared to the black. Now while I had those trees held in place, I thought, well, I might as well glue them down. So I'm just putting some glue on the trunks and adhering those before I add my little hill. Then I will just tip them over and get the tops glued down. So now comes, for me, like the really fun part, seeing it all come together now that everything has been colored. I'm going to put down that hill and also add the dog. So he is going to get liquid adhesive on the bottom, and he's got foam squares up at the top. And he is going to be looking up at a couple of those heartstrings, which are hanging from each of those trees. So this first one that I'm going to put down is going to go flat down onto the base of the card. And the second one will be popped up towards the center. But then I will glue the very ends flat down onto the main panel of the card. To take those birch trees from winter to more of a spring look, I'm using those little leaves that are part of the Tweet Things die set. I use that littlest die set so much, especially in creating these scenes. And I'm just going to fiddle around here with where I want to put those leaves. Sometimes these are the things I spend the most time on when I'm making a card. So we'll see here what makes me happy. I think I'm happy with that. I'll put just a little bit of glue onto the base of the leaves and then adhere those down. And to finish off these heart banners, I tied 2 bows with twine, and I'm going to attach those to one of the heartstrings. And then on the other one, just so it also looked finished, but it was too much to have the twine bows on everything, I'm just going to put a couple of self-adhesive pearls on the very end where the heartstring meets the tree. And that will complete this card. I just mounted it to a note card and it is ready to go. I thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and give it a thumbs up. You can also connect with Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, our website, blog, and shop our online store. And I'll be sure to link to all of those down in the YouTube description box below. And here are the supplies used in creating this card.